Hello, Professor, and hello to our classmates. I'm from Group 13. We have Moon Brilliant and Mongjanat, which is me, and we will present parking management system. So we'll be talking about the introduction to our project objectives, our functions, and the PDLC phase. To introduce you to our project, we aim to allow users to register their vehicles, track permits records, and modify vehicles. Our objective is to have like a management system for multiple admins for various businesses, and that would be an accessible system to different databases to every admin. So we have totally 6 functions. So our first functions would be a vehicle registration. Users are required to enter their last name, first name, color, vehicle make, like Suzuki, and vehicle type, either car or motorcycle, plate number, and also permit status, which is either active or expired. Another function is multiple administrators, where users can log in to get access to database in their business by using only their username and password. The third function would be administrator registration, where users can just input their last name, first name, and create their own username and password to register and get access to our application. For another 3 functions would be search bar, where users can enter the first name of the vehicle's owner and retrieve all the information about their permit or permits. And the another function is record summary, where users can keep track of the record count, the entire record, numbers of each vehicle type, either car or motorcycle, and the permit status too. The last function would be information modification, where they can either edit or delete the information in the table. For the PDLC phase, I'll be talking about the problem analysis and partially program design. And onward, Brilliant will be talking about the program design too, testing and debugging, and also implementation and maintenance. For the problem analysis, the application design need to focus on more functionalities, and another analysis is that user can have like a reliable management system to control their parking lot record, and that application should be flexible and can be used by others who have access to like their username and password. For the program design, we have so this is the program algorithm. First, you just start the application, and you will be asked to whether you have an account or not. And if you do, you just enter your username and password, and it will check whether your username and password are correct or not. But if you don't have an account, you will be asked to click to register button, where you will input last name, first name, username, password, and also confirm your password too. So for this page, it will check the username characters, which should be no longer than 20 characters, and also check whether the password confirmation and password are the same value or not. And then we come to the same main page. So for the main page here, we have register vehicle, search record, and permit modification. For the process of registering a vehicle, you will be asked to enter last name, first name, vehicle make, and color, and also plate number. And you will be asked to make options like select whether you will select the vehicle type, whether you pick the car or motorcycle, and also select the permit status too, whether it's active or expired. And then you just click add vehicle, and that record will display in the record summary and also in the table too. For another process is a search record, where you will be asked to select whether you want to search for a car or motorcycle, and then you will ask to search for filter out the active status or the expired status. Then you will have to enter the first name of the vehicle's owner to search the permit. For the last function here, we have edit and also delete a record. The edit, you will be asked to click on the cell of the table, and then you can just edit that cell and just click apply, and then it will update the database. Another part is that you can also delete that record by just clicking on the row and click delete button. That is all.
Thank you, Ratana. So right now I am brilliant. I'm going to be present on web. So the next part is about the relational data model, how we are going to store our data. So right now, since our application only store very little data, so we only have two tables. The first table is to store user information, which include the ID for the primary key, username, first name, last name, and their password. And the second table is to store the record of the user, which have an ID for the primary key, first name using varchar, last name. We'll go type using enum. Enum here is a type where you can specify which tag can be input into the column. So and then color varchar, plate number also varchar, status enum, and then the user ID here is a foreign key to refer to reference to the user. So the record will be referring to their owner. We will store tons of record, and then those record will be restored to respective user, to their respective user. So here we use a crowdfoot notation, which show that a user can have many or only or at the minimum 0 record, but a record need to have only one user at least and only one user. Record cannot be there there because it will become redundant. So a record there need to be managed by at least on and only one user. So here's some guide on how to use our application, which I will show you in a moment. So here we go registration, that we call modification, the step on how to use it. We call summary. So now I'm going to be explaining the code behind the operation or application. So we have two pages. So I'm going to be explaining the second page, the registration page first, since it is very shorter. So the first thing is we have IGUI as simple, and then for the create account button, we will take all the users input, and then we will check if user fill anything or not. So if user doesn't fill anything, we will not register the account into our database. And then if user input everything, we will check their password if they both of them are matched. And then if the password are matched, we will just import all the user into this register method to register or insert data into the database. So the method here is to take all the information, the input that user input, and then we create a connection, and then we make a statement here that use SQL data manipulation. So, and then you put all the data here, insert into username, first name, last name, and password. We don't include ID here because ID here in our system is auto incremented. So we don't need to include an ID at all, just only username, first name, last name, password, and value. And then after that, we will just execute the statement to the database, and the statement will update the database. So and then for the main page, here we start off with the before we go into the method itself, I want to mention one important thing, which is the ID part. So we have an integer variable here, ID. So what this ID does is whenever user register their account, log in into the account, we will store their ID, their primary key here, so that when user do something, we can identify them in our database. So here's just simple GUI, and then we have this part is for action listener. So each button will call to each method. So I will go through the method itself to explain what each method do. So the login method is to take username string, and then we will query for username and password in our database. And after that, we will check if there's any row or any tuple that matched our user's input, both the username and password. So if it does, it will return true. If it doesn't, then it will return false. So it's a Boolean. The next one is an integer get ID. So this method is to get the ID or the primary key from our user, so that we can store it in the ID variable that I just mentioned earlier. And then this function get full name is we use the integer ID here just to identify which row our user in database, and then we can just query for their first name, last name, and then I just add the name together to get a full name and display it. And for the show table part is also just to use user ID here, but in this case as a foreign key to reference to all the record in the record table. So after we get all the record in the record table, I have a loop here which will run through all the row each one by one, and then will be added to the table one by one. And show summary here is just to execute a simple select count ID is to count the record of the user, and then count the status and count their vehicle type and many things. So in this case, I create this method 3 times since each method only allowed me to execute 2 statements each. So I create 3 different methods to execute 5 statements. So, and then we have a method here for add record. So this one here is to just get users input, and then we execute a as MySQL language into our database where we include user input into the statement, and then we will execute it to a database. And what this for loop does is to remove all the data from the table that we will be showing on the app, and then we will refill it with the new update data, so that when we refill it, we don't include the old data, so it will cause a duplicated data to show up also. And for search, this is an algorithm. So the thing is we check each button to see which one is used, and then if it's not, we will check another, and then we will keep checking, so that when we want to query a language, we don't have to check, we don't have to include every filter, we just include the one that user actually use. And also for the delete part is also just to get the user record, and then here to know which user selected will get the row, and then at row we get the first column of that row, because that first column include the primary key, and we have the primary key, we can just identify the record in the table and then just delete that record. For the apply also, we will just try to get the row and then get the first column, which is the primary key. After the primary key, we will also get the column, which column they selected also, so that we will know which column we will be update in our database. For example, if they did in the column 1, we will know that we need to update the first name column in the database. For number 2 is the last name, and so on. So here's the method for, here's the demo testing here. So let's pretend we don't have any account. So we just register the name here and then a username. So I put simple so that I can register. So create, it should show you that it's created. So now we just close this down and then we will input our account that we just created. Log in, here to show the data that I just input here, the name. And right now we don't have any data. So now let's just input our data into our system. Someone that the customer or the record that users want to input. Then something do the number, and then you can choose if the record is still active, type of vehicle, and then we just add. So right now I want to capitalize my account with many records. Here you can see. So now you can see we have 10 records. So let's check our database here, that store. Here we see that we have our database 10 record here that is reference to our user. So what you can do with the table is you can filter it whenever you want. So you want to find only people that's here active. You click like on active, click search. It will show people that are only active. And if the motorcycle, oh, sure. Oh, sorry, there's a problem. Yeah. Oh, user one. Oh, I'm sorry, because I include the wrong username. The account is user one. That's the one. I just log in into another account which doesn't have any record. So here's our record back. We just publish to username one, and then we click active. Click search. It will show only people that is active. Second one is the expire. Show expire. Then we can just show which car has expired. We have 3 cars that expire. So if you don't want to use any filter, you can just search by the name. Since right now we have all the same name, I can just click here. So we show all the data that include the first name here. So it's not just a few letter, it's all the letter that included in the name. So you can just use all the filter, use one or use all 3 of them at the same time. So at that way. So the next thing is delete. So for example, you have 10 records. So now I want to delete record number 10. You click delete. Now let's check our database. You see it's gone, the one that include ID 10. And for edit, for example, we have motorcycle here. Now we want to have they change to car. We edit and then we click enter, click apply. We will our record summary here will show that car just increased and then the motorcycle just decreased. So this part will just keep track of everything that you want to see in the database. Now we have more car. So you might be asking, for example, if user input different things, we have a check constraint here in a table to make sure user cannot update different things. So for example, if they click, if they try to update one to the vehicle type, click apply, you will see that in a database, it doesn't update at all because it out of constraint. And if we just show the table, or I just none, I don't want to see active. So if you see all the record again, you can see that it still remain car. So we protect user from including different thing or if they choose wrong thing. So that is all for the application. So moving on to the last part is for testing and debugging for the program implementation and maintenance. So right now, application is focusing on a packing management system, but we try to be flexible. And if in the future user want to record, to keep track of their record on other things, we can also modify application to keep track of all those things. And then we will design a much better data relational model to make sure we store data our user data much more efficiently and much more faster to retrieve. And for maintenance, we will also try to keep on make sure that our application work on every window update. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.